Hello, today we're going to be talking about Brad Paisley's Comedy Rodeo Show. This was a Netflix original comedy special that was released recently. And who knew Brad Paisley's funny? I didn't. I know him from his music, but I didn't know that he was involved in any way with comedians. But this special, he is. This is one of those specials where a famous person, usually it's a comedian, but in this case it's Brad Paisley, kind of has multiple comedians that they like, and they introduce them. They come out and do like 5 minute jokes, bits from their set, and they basically get some exposure and hopefully can start their careers from there. And with this, he has 5 or 6 comedians that he introduces to us, and also Brad Paisley himself is actually pretty funny. It was surprising, but he is. So it starts out, there's a skit. A lot of comedian specials, they have these skits in the beginning of them where they do like a little just a little skit, usually features a cameo. This one actually features David Hasselhoff, and he has Kit with him and actually lends Brad Paisley Kit so he can get to the show. The show's taped in Nashville. The little thing in the beginning with David Hasselhoff, it's just a couple of minutes, so it goes by quickly. And then Brad Paisley comes out and he starts singing parodies of his own songs, and they're pretty funny. And then he starts telling a few jokes, and then he sings some more parodies. There's some interaction with the crowd, like he pretends to forget the lyrics to his song and tries to get people to shout out lyrics and things like that. He has them shout out some titles to songs, and then he does like a parody of them. So that part was pretty funny, and he does actually tell real jokes, not too many. Usually what he does is he'll tell a joke and then introduce a comedian. So there's probably 4 or 5 jokes throughout the show. But other than that, it's pretty good. He introduces, after about 13 minutes, he introduces the first comedian. First comedian's name is Nate Bargatze, and he actually has he covers a lot of topics in the 5 minutes that he gets. So, and he was pretty funny. Like, he covers some history for his family. Apparently there was somebody that was murdered in his history, which was the story he told was funny. Obviously not the situation. And then he talks about, like, growing up in the South and how people in the South are too polite. And he does cover a variety of topics, and it's pretty funny. So for 5 minutes, that was a good start. And then Brad Paisley comes out, he sings another little parody song, tells a joke, and then introduces John Heffron, or Heffron. He's an older comedian, and he starts telling jokes, but all of his jokes are based on just the one topic, which is arguing with his wife. So he was funny, but not too original. I mean, the whole arguing with your wife thing has been done by any comedian who's in their 40s, and it's pretty standard stuff. Next, we get Sarah Tiana. She is the only female comedian on the set, and she was okay. Like, I'm sure some people would think her jokes are funny. The audience was kind of iffy, but for me, her delivery was really off. She tries to put on little skits of conversations in her head, and it comes across very muddled and confused, and her delivery is just kind of awkward, and I could see there were people in the audience were cringing, and so was I. She could be funny if it just tones down the oddness of it, or maybe she could find a niche for that. But for me, personally, I didn't find it that funny. And then the next comedian is Michael E. Winfield, and he was really funny. He he had some jokes about Brad Paisley's song "I'm Gonna Miss Her." He was making fun of that song for a bit, about the whole idea of going fishing instead of staying with your girlfriend and stuff like that. So there was a whole bit about that was funny. And he actually also has some jokes about fighting with his wife, but in this case it was just the delivery, the way he told the jokes it was just much more funnier than John Heffron's. So out of all the comedians, I would say he was probably the most funny. And yeah, he was pretty entertaining as well. And then Brad Paisley comes out. He sings a little bit of songs again. He has a parody about the selfies that was funny. This was told a little bit earlier. His sung a little bit earlier. So then the last comedian comes out, and his name is John Reep, and he is a redneck comedian. Kind of like trying to be the next Larry the Cable Guy kind of comedian. Talks mostly, pretty much all of his jokes were about finding Playboys when he was a kid and finding an adult tape and having to deal with his dad figuring out what he was doing and things like that. It was funny, but I would say middle ground for the rest of the comedians. So there were some good ones. Each one gets about 5 minutes. Some of them stuck to just one topic. The female comedian, Sarah Triana, just basically talks about dating as a woman who's almost 40. And, John Heffron just talks about arguing with his wife. And John Reep talks about just the porn when he was a kid and having to deal with his dad figuring that out. But Michael E. Winfield and Nate Bargatze cover multiple topics, like with the short amount of time they have. And I think those were actually the funniest ones of the set. It's just really hard when you only have 5 minutes, because in those cases they probably just brought out the highlights of their set, of each mini routine within their comedy set. But the other comedians that just stuck to one topic, they probably just took their entire set and just cut out a piece of it, while the other two probably just took their entire set and cut out highlights from each bit. So it's hard to tell what works best. To me, the covering multiple topics works best, but the comedians that did just one topic, some of them were funny and some of them weren't. It's overall, though, it is a funny show. Brad Paisley is surprisingly funny. The music was entertaining. I'm a fan of Weird Al Yankovic and the parody songs he does. So to see Brad Paisley parodying his own songs was pretty funny, and he does seem to have a good sense of humor. And he wasn't the best at telling jokes, but I think that's just because it's not his forte. It's not something he's been doing for years. It's the singing. So it was funny. It was a good show. So as far as Netflix goes, I'll give it a thumbs up. And as far as a rating goes, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's a funny comedy special that covers a lot of different topics, and you get to see a variety of different comedians. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all of the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.